and one of them is actually document intelligence. And this is actually a very key workload that a lot of companies have been using, and hopefully once you encounter this, you'll be able to use it as well for your business. So let me first introduce myself. So my name is Ziggy Zulueta. For those who would like to add me in LinkedIn, you can see it here at the screen. So I'm a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional in AI, and I'm also a LinkedIn Learning Instructor. So I hold 9 Microsoft certifications, among them an Azure Solutions Architect, and I'm also an Azure Administrator and Azure AI Engineer. So I mentioned about LinkedIn. So I'm an instructor there. So for those who may not know, LinkedIn has a LinkedIn Learning Premium account. So if you have this premium account in LinkedIn, you have access to all the learning videos in LinkedIn. So in fact, if you want to learn more about AI or anything about Microsoft, you can actually get all of the video-based trainings there. So as you notice, the trainings in Microsoft Learn are pretty much text-based, that in which you need to read through a lot of content. So if you're looking for video-based content, you can actually see it in LinkedIn Learning. So I'm creating courses for Microsoft AI globally for LinkedIn. And my first course is about building RAG solutions with Azure AI Studio. So for those who do not have an account in LinkedIn, you can scan this QR code and you can get a free 1 month trial to access all of the course that you want for a month. So this is my first course. The second course, which I'll be discussing today, is about document processing with AI. So if you go to the LinkedIn Learning platform and look for document processing with AI or process documents with Azure AI Document Intelligence, you'll be finding this course. Now, I'll be discussing actually a abbreviated summary of the whole course because the course will take 2 hours. I'm actually going to be providing a code and some demos at the end of the session. But if you want to have a walkthrough on all of the code that I'll be discussing, then feel free to get a free account in LinkedIn to actually see the code now. Because if you want to see the actual code and actually get an explanation on each, then that's where you can get it from this course. So without further ado, let's first discuss what document intelligence is about. So what is it really? No? So it's about techniques for automatically reading, understanding, and analyzing business documents. So in this day and age, um, paperwork is still there. For I mean, you if you're a business, you will still be getting receipts. If you're a business, you'll still be getting invoices. You may still be having customer forms from your customers. So at the end of the day, you want to have a method to automatically read those documents. And what are the challenges when it comes to document intelligence? Number one challenge is that there will be diversity of layouts and formats. So obviously, one document, I mean, there's no such thing as just having one document or one standard format to have all of your data. So you'll be having different layouts and formats for each of the data that you have that you'll be collecting from whether it be suppliers or customers or whatnot. Second one is when you try to digitize these documents, the other issue is that there'll be some inferior quality when it comes to scanning these documents. So obviously you might take a photo from your phone, or for some reason there's an improper lighting when you take a scan of the document, or for one reason or another your scanner is not of high quality. So that's also one thing. So once and when you experience also I've experienced this a lot when I have a client that wants to digitize their documents. Sometimes the quality of their scan is not that great, no. So that's also one challenge. And finally, the other challenge is having complexity with regards to template structures. So end of the day, it's you don't have a simple template wherein you have the name of the person and then the phone number, and you have the form would be very simple. Sometimes the actual form that you've probably been filling up, for example, in your what do you call this? Maybe when you apply for a driver's license, or when you go to the hospital, when you fill up all of these forms, the forms are not simple to fill out, and they're not simple to actually read. No, so those are the common challenges when it comes to document intelligence. Before I discuss further what document intelligence is with Azure AI document intelligence, I'd like first to discuss about data. So did you know that more than 80% of our data is unstructured? Typically before, when we were, I don't know, in college or in the university, when we were taught about data, what you know typically about data is in a table format, those with rows, columns, and with metadata. So that's what you call structured data. So that's what we know of. But in fact, 80% of the data that we have is unstructured. There's no predefined model. And for for those tables that I mentioned earlier, so those rows with and columns with specific structures. So for example, this column would be the email column, and it should be a text with length of, let's say, 50 characters. Then that's the structure of the actual table. When it comes to unstructured data, there's no actual defined model. No? One example would be emails or documents or presentations or contracts, invoice receipts. These are things that do not have a predefined model. So let's say you scan a document. Let's say you're going to be filing an extra in a company. You're going to be filing an expense report, and you got a receipt from your restaurant, and then you get the receipt from a gas station, or you get the receipt from the from the hotel, or for any establishment for that matter. At the end of the day, if you look at it, they're all receipts. But when it comes to the structure, they're all different. They may have the same information. For example, you want to get the total of the receipt. You want to get the line items of the receipt, what you actually ate, or the details of the receipt, or the merchant of the receipt. So all of these data is there. But if you look at it, there's no predefined actual template. There's no, there's no one receipt for the whole world, and there's only one format, right? When you receive all of these receipts, they're all of different formats. So those are the things that are actually bugging a lot of companies these days. No? Before document intelligence came into being, all of these things need to be manually, encoded. So I'm pretty sure for those who are at work right now, or filing expense reports, you'd probably be doing it manually till as of this very moment. You'll fill up a form. This is your expense, and then you'll probably scan the once you file your expense report, you'll scan the receipt and then send it over to HR to actually approve the expense report now. So that's still what's happening right now in today's world. And again, now this data is not structured, they're all unstructured, and they actually get stored in a data lake. So a data lake is a storage where you put your unstructured data. So what are the common business scenarios that you need for document intelligence? So one would be digitizing documents. So in this photo here, there's still a lot of companies all over the world that are still on paper now, because at the end of the day, it's still a requirement in some government that you have some paper document for filing, for compliance, and whatnot. No? So I know for the fact here in the Philippines, where I live, a lot of government or even a lot of companies here still use paper when it comes to documents, because the laws, there might be laws on having contracts on digital form, but there's still some gray areas when it comes to implementation. So a lot of contracts here, a lot of legal documents are all still signed through paper, and you still need to have those documents notarized. So if you want to put them in digital format, you need to scan them and need to digitize them somewhere so that you can eventually search them. So that's one common issue. The other one is extracting key information. So in the example that I provided, let's say you have a lot of imagine you have a lot of employees filing expense reports here and there. You want to automatically have a system to extract the key information. What are these key information? It could be the total of the receipt amount. It can be the merchant details and whatnot. No? Another one would be invoices. If we're receiving a lot of invoices from different suppliers, then instead of manually encoding each and every one of them one by one, then you can have a system to extract all of the information from your suppliers, from those purchase orders. Another example would be in real estate. So I know this company here in the Philippines, wherein up at this very moment, probably he's there in his office right now, they still manually do reconciliation of payments. So they're a real estate firm, and they receive a lot of payments from customers who pay them monthly on the purchase of their real estate apartment. They need to, manually code and manually reconcile all of these information that they get from bank statements and from the payments that they get from customers. So that's one example on extracting key information. So invoice and receipt processing. So I provided this example earlier. So a company would get a lot of invoices from suppliers or get a lot of receipts from also their suppliers or their employees. So you want to automatically process them. So I mentioned about expense report processing. So that's one example. So this lady here is taking a photo. So I'm not sure if for those who are still working or at work right now and filing expense report, this is probably what you've been doing till this very moment, no? Taking a photo of the receipt and then filing it with your expense report. Another one would be on KYC compliance. So in a typical bank, when you're gonna open a bank account, you would what do you call this? You'll fill up a form on your actual details. You'll provide your actual documents, whether it be a passport or a driver's license. So this is we call it KYC, so know your customer compliance. So governments all over the world, they require banks to have, for anyone opening a bank account, the bank must do the proper KYC to the customer to ensure that they're not, doing any money laundering or whatnot. So this is KYC compliance. Another one can be tax form processing. So imagine that let's say you're a mortgage company in which you're processing a lot of applications, and one of them would be tax forms that you need to process from each of your possible customers. So each of the customers that are applying a mortgage would provide their tax forms to indicate that they're actually, they can actually pay the loan. But instead of you manually encoding all of these tax forms, you want to do it automatically. And then finally, you have handling custom forms. So it can be the case that whether it be here in a shipping line or in customs or wherever all over the world, wherein each and every customer will have their own customized form that they want either their salespeople or either their field personnel or even their customers to fill up. So all of these scenarios, there's actually a lot more, which to take a lot more time to discuss all of these. But these are cases wherein you want to automate the processing of these documents, and this is where Azure AI Document Intelligence will come in. So what are the typical outcomes that you want with document intelligence? One is you want to store the papers in digital form. So you have all of these papers that are physically there. You want to have some sort of way to store them online so that if for some reason something happens to the warehouse that is storing all of these documents, you have it in digital form. No? The other way that you want to do it is you want to upload it online so that you can actually use them for whether it be on search, on any computation, or any automated processing, or even any analysis. So the thing is, if you have all of this data in paper format and you're not able to digitize them, then there's no way for you to have any way to get insights on those data. So you want to put it in digital form so that you can actually search them, and not only search them but get insights. Now, so have artificial intelligence like generative AI to read through all the documents and to actually get some insights on these documents. No? So there, the last one is you do all of these. You want to store it, and you want to prepare it for search and for automation and for analysis so that AI can actually read through this data. So these are the outcomes that you typically want to have. Now, what would be the old method? So back in the day, or even up till now, the normal process people would do is once they receive the document, the first thing that they'll do is they'll manually encode the metadata. So what do you mean by metadata? So for example, you have one example here would be in university in a library. So I'm not sure if you recall the Dewey Decimal System. So before you catalog the book, you'll enter in the system. So I'm pretty sure that your libraries have a computer, and if you want to search for a book or even a bookstore rather, they still use the Dewey Decimal System. They will copy the author, they'll copy the title, and maybe the publication date or the version of the book, and have some keywords on the book. So for example, keywords would be it's going to be science fiction, comedy, and maybe a short synopsis of the actual book. No? So in other words, you need to manually get that data and encode it in the system so that you can actually find it, search it eventually. No? So that's one thing. So this is typically what's been happening right now in most knowledge base that we have right now. It's all manually encoded. But the issue here, it's very time consuming and prone to errors. So imagine if you are starting to have your own knowledge base and you have hundreds of thousands of books, or let alone 100 books. Each and every book you need to catalog. So you need to get all of their titles, get all of the authors, the publishing date, keywords about the book, and the actual synopsis of the book. So you need to actually manually encode that one by one. And then, of course, if you make an error, if you jumble up and somehow mistakenly identify one book for the other, then that's where you'll have issues already. It's actually prone to errors. Also, the systems that we have, that we in which we're storing all of these books, in the example of the library, had some what do you call this? Um, for lack of the better term, they're actually relying on the search capability on what was encoded. In other words, if this book is actually science fiction and comedy together, but the person who encoded it only mentioned comedy, that book will never come out if you're looking for a science fiction, comedy book. So, for example, Star Trek is one example wherein there's science fiction and there's actually comedy in it. Same thing also with Star Wars, no? So, if you look at it, if the person was searching and then for some reason the actual book was improperly categorized, then you'll not be able to search that book anymore, no? So, in other words, these systems only had search capability that was relying on what was encoded. And if the encoding was prone to human error, then the system would have errors as well already as well. And at the end of the day, the system had no capability to get insights and find patterns. So it was just based on what was inputted, and it doesn't know that, okay, Star Trek is both comedy and science fiction. And for example, if the different characters there in Star Trek, if you try to search it, they will not be there because the person who probably made the synopsis did not have the time to input every single character in the key as a keyword for you to search it eventually. So those was also one of the issues on the old systems or even the systems that we have right now. So this is where Azure AI Document Intelligence will actually play a key role, no? Because it will basically reduce or eliminate all of these manual effort that we've been doing for the past. So what is Azure AI Document Intelligence? So it's a cloud service to perform document processing. So it can be run in containers or on-premise scenarios as well. So actually, I get this a lot, so that's why I put it here. Question would be, do I need to use this and I have to be online? So for some, yes, but for this one, for Azure AI Document Intelligence, you can even run this on premises. Meaning even if you don't have internet and you're some location out there with no internet, or you have a requirement, a government requirement that the data should be stored on premises because you're going to be processing a lot of sensitive information, then it can be run also on premises through containers. And then we have Document Intelligence Studio, which I'll be demoing later, in which you can test and explore the different functionalities of AI document intelligence without having to code. So without any coding, you'll be able to experience the power of and the different features of this service without any coding required. And then from there, once you're able to determine what service that you want to use, you eventually need to have your developers access this via REST API or by Python, C Sharp, Java, or JavaScript for you to actually use the libraries for you to embed these services into your application. So I'll pause here a bit. Let me just check from the audience if there's anyone raising their hand, if there's any questions as of this moment. Let me stop sharing to see if there's any questions. Okay, none for the moment. All right, so let's continue on. So let's discuss what are the different models of Azure A Doc Intelligence. So we actually have four big categories. The first one is the general document analysis. So we have the read and the layout model. We'll discuss what that is later. So I'm just enumerating each and every one. So read is basically to read the document, and layout is to read the document and to get the actual structure. So we'll discuss what that is in a moment. And then we have the pre-trained scenario-specific models. So read and layout is the basis of everything, even is the basis of everything. And then if you want to have scenario-specific models, so Microsoft has some pre-trained models that you can use off the shelf. So for example would be the invoice and the receipt. So with the receipt and the invoice, it's a pre-trained model. Supposedly any invoice all over the world or any receipt that you get, whether it be in the gas station or in a supermarket or in a hospital or in a restaurant, the system will be able to read that receipt and get the actual information that you need. So that's a pre-trained scenario specific. So the scenario here would be a receipt, or it can be an invoice or a tax form or whatnot. Then you have the custom model. So most of the companies will actually go in this category because some of the models, even though they're scenario specific, you will still need to have a custom model, and I'll explain why later. And then you have the composed models and the custom classification models. So this one I'll explain in more detail in the next few slides. So what is the read and layout model? So the read model in general will allow you to read will allow you to extract written or printed text lines and words and actual locations and detected languages. So when you say written or printed text lines, any text for that matter, it will read it. Any words, it will read, even paragraphs. When you say locations, the locations in the actual page. So normally in a page, you have this page, this rectangle, and then there's a coordinate. So the upper left would be the actual 00, and then when you see a specific word, there will be a bounding box, like what you call this, it's being encircled, the word is being encircled, and it will tell you the location of the actual text that's being written. I mean the text that is actually detecting, and then the actual language used. For the layout model, it's same as the read model, but it also extracts structural information like tables, selections, selection marks, paragraphs, titles, headings, and subheadings. And the layout model has a markdown format, which are actually needed for large language models. So we'll discuss a bit now. So this is an example of a read model. So our sample here is a document in which there's actually a header here. You have the title, then you have the selection marks, the checkbox, and then you have a QR code here. You have a paragraph, and then you have a first name Ziggy, last name Ziggy, and then let's say the company name's LinkedIn, and you have a barcode here, and you have a sample table. If you have this read through the read model, you will get a document something like this, no? In which there's actually no format. There's no format in the actual read, so it will just get all the text that is possible. And there's also a way to enable reading the QR code and reading the barcode. I did not enable it here, but it's also possible to read through that. Now, as you can see, there's no structure in the actual output. It will just read all the text with no structure. The problem here is that if you just want to get the actual information, I mean, just get the actual text and you yourself will probably make sense of this data, then that's fine. But if you have a large language model like Azure OpenAI to read through this information, the system will not be able to read everything properly. So what do I mean? So for example, if you ask Azure OpenAI using retrieval augmented generation, so let's say you put this as your input to Azure OpenAI, and you ask Azure OpenAI, what is the unit price for a managed disk? The answer should be 5. But in this case over here, OpenAI will not be able to know which of the information here is the actual price of the managed disk. Okay? This is where the layout model will come into play. So this same document, which is the same one here in the read model. So once the layout model is able to read the document, as you can see here, the output is the same structure. This is the markdown format that I was mentioning earlier. As you can see, the system was able to get all the information and put it in a markdown format. As you can see, the page header is intact. Okay. It says here there's a figure, but it did not read it because I did not enable reading the QR code. But what's important is you will see here the structure of the table. As you can see here, the structure of the table is kept intact. So now if you feed this into a large language model and you have it ask the question, what is the unit price of a managed disk? The LLM will be able to know that the unit price is $5 because from this format here, the LLM will be able to understand that this is the column. This is the header. These are the different columns. So for example, this is first column is first row would be the column headers. Second row is just a space, the line. And then the third row would be quantity is 1, description is Azure Virtual Machine, unit price is 10, total is 10, no? Because of this formatting. So now if you have Azure OpenAI read through this and ask the question on what the price of a specific row is, so virtual machine, the system will be able to understand that it's a unit price 10. So this is the importance of using the layout model. And this is what, under the hood, for those who are using Azure AI Studio or Azure OpenAI, when you upload the document there in the studio for you to chat with the data, this is what happens at the back end. Okay, so this is what happens at the back end. Of course, if you're using those studios, they have a built-in technology, but if you want to modify the actual reading of the document, this is where you'll do it now. And I'll explain later why you want to do it this way. So we mentioned about the read and the layout. Let's talk about the scenario-specific models. So there's actually a lot. These are actually some of them. In fact, when I made this slide, apparently there's something new. There are newer models that came out now. But these are the ones that we have here. So we have for a US tax form, we have a US tax model. In other words, all the US tax forms, all the tax forms in the US, if you want to get all of the information from a US tax form, use the US tax model. For a bank statement, it's going to be, or check, it's going to be the bank statement and bank check model. For contract, so we're also handling contracts, health insurance cards, credit and debit cards, invoice, receipts, identity cards, pay stubs, and US mortgage forms. No? So what do you mean by the model automatically extracting the information in this scenario? So let's talk about the invoice model. So we have here an invoice model coming from Contoso Limited. And as you can see, there's actually a lot of information that you'd probably want to get from this invoice. With the invoice model of Azure AI Document Intelligence, the system will be able to get immediately the amount due, which is $610, the billing address, so this is the address, billing address recipient, customer address, and so on and so forth. Excuse me. For each pre-trained model, there's actually a set of predefined fields that the model will actually extract immediately. So any invoice, so what I'm saying here is any invoice that you provide, it doesn't have to be in this format. It can be in any invoice format that you can think of. The system will be able to get all of these pre-trained fields. And then from there, provide it in a JSON format for your developer to be able to use it somewhere along down the line. So let's say you have a system. So you create a Power App or create a website in which you will upload this invoice. You'll call the REST API of this model, and then it will come out with a JSON response, which will show you what it looks like later. And then from there, you can actually get the actual fields that you need. No? So in this case, for example, you'll see here, it's a document type of invoice. And then page range would be on page 1, we got the amount due, and this is the amount, and this even the bounding box, meaning this is the location in the actual document. And then billing address is a type string, and then here's the value, and then the bounding box is the location on where it is now. So that's one example of how a pre-trained model will extract the fields that you need. And then we have custom models. So here, going back to all of these, so these are the typical scenarios. No? Probably more than 50% of your business scenarios may come here. No? But sometimes you will still need to have custom models because you want to extract data from your custom forms. So here I have an example of a informed consent for immunization with inactivated vaccines. So it's a COVID consent form in which you put your last name, you put your first name, your middle name, your date of birth, age, and so on and so forth. So you've probably seen this in a hospital form, in a hospital setting, or you've probably seen this when you're applying for your driver's license, but it's in a different format, but you're filling up your details, or any government for that matter, or even in the private private governments that that you need to fill up a form, you'd probably be seeing this. So what's happening here is that instead of you manually, if you're a company, so let's say one example would be a client that's into life insurance. Instead of them manually encoding each and every form, in their system so that they can save it in their system and actually do some insights with it, do some analysis or practically save your data there in their system. Instead of manually encoding it, you'll need to create your own custom model and then scan the document and have the Azure A document intelligence automatically get all the information here. So in this case, as you can see here in the right side, all the information is automatically extracted. No? So last name, first name, date of birth. So once you've extracted all of this information, then that's the time you can automatically put them in your own finance system or any system for that matter to track all of these records. Now, as I mentioned, not all models here in this scenario specific, setting will be able to meet your requirements. What do you mean by that? For example, the identity cards here. So I noticed that, yes, the system was able to, when I say identity cards, this would be passports. This can be driver's license. I noticed that when they created this model, they trained it on US data. So when I tried using a Philippine passport or a Philippine driver's license, this pre-trained model did not work. Meaning I need to still create my own custom model called the Philippine passport. I'll show you later in a sample, or my own model called the Philippine driver's license to get the actual information of let's say you have a customer that's providing their government IDs or whatnot. No? So I had to create my own custom model just to automatically scan that driver's license and get all the information that was needed, whether it be the driver's license number, the actual address, and the actual name and name and age of and date of birth of the actual person. No? So I had to create a custom model for that. The pre-trained model did not work. And then we have composed models. The thing is, it's not normally the case that it's as simple that when you receive an email. No? So let's say you want to automate your process, and you receive an email from a customer. It may be the case that, you're getting an email from a vendor. It may be the case that when they're providing a purchase order, it can be different documents. Meaning they emailed you and the document can actually be a supply PO, or it can be an equipment PO, or it can be a furniture PO. Because let's say you're a company that supplies, both supplies, both equipment, and both furniture. So sometimes in this setting, you're actually receiving a PO from them, but you don't know that it's actually a supply, equipment, or furniture PO. Instead of you manually having to say that, okay, once you receive it in an email, I need to have to manually encode that this is a supply PO or equipment PO. With the Azure A Document Intelligence Compose models, once you receive any of these documents in your inbox, you can automate it in such a way that Document Intelligence will know which one this document will come from. So imagine, just erase this a bit. You get a PDF, and you don't know. So you get a PDF. So let's say you get an email from a supplier. You get it in your inbox. Once you receive that PO, you don't want to open it anymore, no? Because if you open it, they need to manually, figure it out, no? What you do is you get the PDF and you inject it in the Compose model. And the Compose model will classify if it's a supplies PO, an equipment PO, or a furniture PO. So that's one good example of using this actual model, no? So let's say you have one input document, and you don't know what's inside of it. Document Intelligence will be able to know right away, as long as you've trained all of these models individually. But the issue here is it's only one document, no? In other words, let's say somebody gives you one file, but it contains a supply PO, an equipment PO, and a furniture PO. This is not the model for you, because what will happen is in one document, it contains all three. It will only get the first one. Okay. To handle that scenario, we have the custom classification scenario. So imagine here, you have imagine that you are in the bank and you're applying for a loan application. In your loan application, so you have one file here. So imagine you get in the bank, you provide your application form, you provide your payslip, you provide, I don't know, your ID cards or bank statement or whatnot. No? You give it to a bank agent or a bank teller, and the bank teller will scan all of these documents and put it in one PDF. So that one PDF, and you don't know what is the actual, what do you call this, the actual arrangement, because sometimes a teller will scan first the payslip, then scan the bank statement, and scan the loan application form, and then put it in one document with a different, what do you call this, orientation, or what do you call this, different sequence, rather. And there are some tellers who will scan it. They'll scan first the loan application form, the payslip, and bank statement, and put it in one document. So it can vary, no? The sequence can vary. What's important is all of the information is there in the PDF file, and the custom classification model will be able to split each and every document and assign it the actual model properly. Okay? So this is what I will demo later, in which with one document, you put it to Azure A Document Intelligence Studio, and that model will be able to classify what these documents are. And then from there, once you've identified the documents, it does not do the field extraction. So unlike the other samples here, so for the layout model, it's extracting data. For the scenario-specific models, it's extracting these fields. For the custom models, it's extracting these fields here. Also for the compose model, so once you have one document here, it's able to understand what the document is and will use the custom model here to extract the information. With the custom classification model, it will not get the actual data. It will just classify. So what will happen here is that once you've classified the document, so I'll show this in the demo later. Once you classify the document, then that's the time you use one of the custom models that you created to actually extract the fields. Now, how do we actually automate all of this together? So there are actually a lot of ways to do this. So imagine that you have an input file, and you instruct your whether it be your employee for expense reports. So the direction is, okay, put it in a OneDrive folder, or put it in Outlook. So send it to me via Outlook, or same for the purposes of, for example, getting a PO from a vendor. Obviously, they cannot put it in a OneDrive. They'll send it to you in Outlook. And then you can have Azure Logic Apps or Power Automate, any of the two, to do the automation. So what would be the trigger? For Logic Apps, the trigger can be once a new file is uploaded to OneDrive, or the trigger can be once you receive an email with an attachment from a specific vendor with a specific subject. That's the trigger. Once the action has been triggered, it will call Azure AI Document Intelligence to extract the information from the PDF and maybe put it in, whether it be in SharePoint list or Microsoft list, or put it in any data source of your liking. So that would be the automated document processing part. We also discussed about running this in containers. So there's actually still, because we're handling sensitive information here, and there will be a lot of government, regulations or a lot of requirements wherein companies would need to run their document intelligence on premises. So this is where containers will come in. So with document intelligence in containers, this does not need to be run on the cloud. So your on-premise scenario can be data privacy, or can be security, governance, or data residency. So we know for the fact that Azure has locations in India, so fine. But here in Southeast Asia, it's only in Malaysia. Sorry, not in Malaysia, but in Singapore and in Japan. So if there's a specific requirement where it has to be in a specific country, then this the scenario for you. So with Azure Document Intelligence containers, you can run document intelligence on premises. So it still requires internet connection, but only for billing, meaning the data is not. So with the cloud solution, once you upload the data gets stored for processing somewhere out there in the Azure location. So it is a PaaS solution, by the way. So the data is stored somewhere out there in the cloud. So it does not get stored in your actual area. That's one. But with containers, it still needs an internet connection, but the data does not get passed anywhere. It's still handled on premises, but it's just providing a feed to say that you've used the service, so they will properly bill you appropriately. But there will still be scenarios, very strict scenarios, wherein you don't really have any internet connection for that matter, or there's totally a government requirement that stop. There's no internet connection of the sort to handle this situation. Then you can have disconnected containers in which you don't need to have a cloud connection, but you would need a commitment to your pricing, meaning you need to commit to pay the service for a specific year. So it's possible. These are all possible with document intelligence. So actually, enough of the talk. Let's provide some demos. I'd like to pause a bit to see if there's any questions from the audience at this moment before I provide the demo. All right. So none, I will share my screen on the demo. So this is what the Document Intelligence Studio would look like. So as I mentioned, you can access it through the studio. Again, you can access it through API, REST API, and you have access to code. So I'll show all three examples. So for Document Intelligence Studio, the first thing you need to do is to go to Document Intelligence. So actually to search it. So let me just put a bit. Yeah, actually let's go to the actual very start. So you need to go to the Azure portal first, and you need to create a document intelligence, what do you call this? Resource, no? So an example here would be, where did I put that? Trying to recall now. Yeah. So I have my document intelligence resource, okay? So how do you do that? The search document intelligence, okay? And then click create. And then you need to, assign a resource group. For example, assign your region, put a name, and put a pricing tier. So if you're trying it out, feel free to use the free version in which you don't get called. But, there's actually 500 pages per month to play around with. So if you have you can get a free Azure account. And then when you get the free Azure account, if you created an Azure account for the first time, you have $200 of free credit. But then once you have an Azure free account, even if you don't have any credit, you can actually use this document intelligence to try it out. So just use the free pricing tier and you get 500 pages for processing every month. So that's pretty cool, right? I don't think you'll be using up more than 500 pages just to test these services out. But anyway, you'll choose that and you put a name. So let's say you put your any name for that matter, any name, and then you click review and create and click create. What will happen is, I'll close that a bit. I'll not create anymore because I already have one here. Sorry, I closed my screen. Hold on a sec. Let me increase my resolution for this one for people to see it better. Okay. So going back here, so this is my document intelligence resource. What's important is when you go to where was it? The keys and endpoints. What's important is you get the actual endpoint and you need to actually get the key that you need. No? So this is how you access the service. All right. Now, for Document Intelligence Studio, if you want to try it out, all you need to do is to go to Bing and then search for Document Intelligence Studio. Okay, sorry. You search Azure Document Intelligence Studio, and you'll be able to get the link to be able to access this studio here. Okay, so once you click on this link, you'll be required to log in. But since I'm already logged in, it automatically logged me in. Oh no, so I need to log in. So you need to log in here. And then from there, you'll be able to access the service. So here, from here, you can see, you can have access to the document analysis, which I mentioned. So the read and the layout. So let's sample the read. No? So you click on this read button. Just let it load. So this is the example document. You click run analysis. And then from there, you'll be able to see the actual result of the read. So you see that, a paragraph was captured and then another paragraph and so on and so forth. This is the content. So this is, putting it in a very easy to read format, but the actual result that you'll get is really this one here. It's actually a JSON format that you'll have your developer or you'll be doing some coding if you want to actually access it. I'll show you later on the REST API part, but at the end of the day, you need to process this eventually to get the information. So for example, for read, you get all the pages. Okay, so here you have one page only. So this is the first page. And then you have all of the words. Okay, so here in the words, you have, each and every word while, and then you'll see here healthcare. And then, so this one now we're focusing on this. While healthcare is still in the early stages, you'll see that each and every word here. So here's the while, here's the healthcare, then here's the is, and so on and so forth. It's getting it each and every word, no? So that's on the read part. So that's the basic. Then you get the layout. So here in the layout, so I have a sample document here. I click run analysis. And you'll be able to see that it's able to get, the page header, the title, the section. So it gets the layout structure of the document. It even get the selection marks. So in this case, the first one is selected. The third one is not. And you can get the tables. So you can see here, this is the table. So this is the dummy table. And you can even get the figure. So this one, we did not enable getting the figures now, but we're getting that one. And this is the output. So same thing as the read. So unlike the read, which you get the pages, you also get the tables here, the structure. So remember, with the read, it just gets all of the pages and the text. With the tables, you actually get the format. So you have the tables here, you have the paragraphs, the different styles, the different sections, the figures, and so on and so forth. So that's on the read and layout. Now going to the actual pre-built models, there's actually a lot of them. So you notice there's new here, which I did not put in my slide. So these came out recently. There's actually a lot to choose from. So let's try, for example, the invoice. So as you can see here in the invoice, in the right side, you have a lot of samples now. So you have one invoice that looks like this. Okay. This one here. You have another invoice that looks different. So notice that these samples are different invoices. So no matter what the case is, no matter what the format, the system, if you click run analysis, the system will be able to get the actual invoice information. So from here, you can see it will get the customer address. It will get the customer address recipient, the customer ID, the customer name, and so on and so forth. It will get all the specific information you need. You can also get the table. And again, at the end of the day, this was important. You get the JSON result. Okay. So this is sample number in French. This is sample in English. You run it, it's the same thing. Now it's going to, whatever the format is, it will get it. Okay, to get the actual fields that are needed. So amount due, billing address recipient, customer address, and so on and so forth. Okay. Going to, let's say, the credit card, or where's the identity card here? Their identity card here. Yeah, identity documents. So you have a sample here of a Italian passport. You run an analysis here. And it will get the details of the actual identity card. So you get the address, you get the date expiration, date of issue, and so on and so forth. Now, as I mentioned, what I experienced here is that it worked for American samples, but apparently when it came to Philippine examples, it did not work anymore. So I had to create my own custom model. So I'll show you how that would happen in a bit, but I'm not sure if it'll work probably for Indian documents. You can try it out and let me know in the comments. Once let me know in LinkedIn if it works for Indian documents, but it did not work for documents here in the Philippines. So the custom models, how did it happen? So from here, you have the custom extraction model. So I created so this is my Philippine passport example. So by the way, I got all of these Philippine passports online. So I did not have any of these, so these are, the documents here that I'm showing is actually you can get from Wikipedia. So from here, I trained my own model wherein it will get the passport number, the last name, first name, and so on and so forth. This is passport 2. So when you do training, so you need to train this. You need to label them. So I'll show you how to. Well, I will not be able to show you how to label it right now for interest of time. But what's important is when training this model, you need to have at least 5 documents. So that's why you have 5 documents here. Okay, so this is the one that I actually use for training. So this is for the Philippine passport. And this is for the COVID form. Okay, so you need to practically train each and every document sample, and then train it. And then from there, you can test it. So for example, I want to test this. I will browse for a document. Let's see, where is my sample document here? Document intelligence example, my COVID consent form. So my test document, if I want to, this is my test document, I want to run it against my trained model. So take a little bit while. So there, it will get the actual information that you need. Now, so this is just demoing. This is just demoing it right now through the studio. If you want you to use it through code, this is where the REST API will happen. No? So in the REST API, what you'll do is there's documentation on this in in Microsoft Learn. So you need to analyze the document first. So this is the actual endpoint. Okay, so imagine that you'll create a website or any code for that matter. You need to call this REST API. So this is the format of the REST API. All you need to do is to put in the headers the API key. So I'll not show it here because it's actually sensitive information, but I saved it in my environment. And you have a body here. So this is a sample of the document. Wait, no, this is the one here. Hold on. This is a sample of the document. Okay. So I will want to read this document. So this one here. And see what it'll look like in JSON. So I'll run this. I'll click send. What will happen is you'll get a request ID. Because the reason for this is the processing may take a while. So you need to post a request in the service to read the document. You'll get an actual request ID in which you will use a get method. And you will pass it here in this result ID here. You need to pass in the header, the API key. In the body, nothing. So you need to run the request, and then you'll get this actual output, which is the same JSON response that you get from the studio. So from here, you'll see the content, and then from here, you'll be able to see the different information. So let's minimize this a bit. Okay, so let's minimize this. So you get the analyze result object. So you need to parse through the JSON. You need to get the pages. Actually, for the invoice, what's important is you'll get the actual documents. From here, you'll get the document type, it's invoice. And then what's important is you get the different fields. So in this case, you want to get, so this is the line items of the field. So what do you call this? Hide that. Hold on a sec. So you have the documents. You'll get the different fields. So so this is the fields on the virtual machine, the actual table. Okay. Yeah, so get all of the information that you need in here, in which you need to run it through code. So let me show you what it looks like in code. So I have here running. Oh, I need to enable my code space again. Took a while. So hold on a sec. So while we're having this code space load, this is our sample input document. So imagine here that you have a customer who filled up a custom form. So this is the COVID consent form. And aside from filling up the form, which is 2 pages, that person also attached their passport and they also attached their driver's license. So this is the example that we have. The upload file does not have to be in this sequence. You can put the passport here and the driver's license here in the second page, and then the form at the bottom now. But in this case, the form is on top. The second page contains the passport, and the third page contains the driver's license. So we have the code here. So let me show you. So this code you can get with plus a walkthrough using the what do you call this? The LinkedIn video. In the setup, this is where you normally get, or this is where you normally set up your what do you call this? You need to save in your environment. So I will not share what my environment file is, but you need to save in your environment file the endpoint and the key which I showed earlier. So you need to read through it, and then from there import the necessary what do you call this? Libraries. So you actually need to install these what do you call this? These Python libraries. So you need to install them. Okay, and then from there, you need to use the API key to create a credential. And then from there, create a document analysis client. So that's normally what you do for all of these to actually access the different models now. So let's go to the actual difficult one. So in fact, I've seen a lot of people in YouTube when they show this, they're actually asking for the code. So here's the code. What will happen here is, so again, as I mentioned, you will get the actual, so this is the one earlier in setup.py, in which you get the endpoint and the key. You import the actual libraries. You create an API key. You create the document analysis client. So this is a document intelligence client. You need to create the client. And then from there, this is where you actually analyze the document. So we're getting the document. So this document here. So this is the one. This is the document that we're talking about. This document here. We're gonna get the URL of the document, and then from there, we will classify this document. The result will be saved in a variable, and then from there we get the different document types. Okay, so we get the different document types. It can be a COVID consent form, it can be a passport, and it can be a driver's license. And then from there, once we determine which of the documents they are, we will start to actually analyze them one by one. So these are the different analysis. This is the actual, methods to actually get the, remember, we're all getting this in JSON. So we're getting it in the document. Okay, so recall earlier, we're getting it in the document. Where's that? We're getting it here. We're getting this document. We're going through each and every, so it's an array. We're going through each and every document, no, in the array. So that's the one here. We're getting the actual for document. So this is a loop for every result.document. For each document, we'll go through each of the fields. Now we'll get the actual. So for the COVID consent form, we want to get the last name, first name, middle name. If it's a passport, we'll get this one, these details here. If it's a driver's license, we'll get the necessary fields. Okay, so let's actually run this a bit now. So let's show you what it actually looks like. So let's run this command a bit. Python 07 custom classification.py. So what will happen is, using this Python code, it will run document intelligence, read through this document, and try to understand first if this document is what category first, and so on and so forth. So this is the result. So what happened was, here, I printed it out. Okay, I printed it out in which the first document type is a COVID consent form. It starts at page 1 and ends at page 2. The second document type is passport. It starts at page 3 and ends on page 3. So this is the document. And the last one is a driver's license. Last one is a driver's license, in which it starts at page 4 and ends at page 4. And then from there, what I did was I used the code to actually extract all the information. So for document type COVID consent form, here's the information. For document type passport, here's the information. And for document type license, here's the information. So from here, as you can see, with this document, instead of manually encoding them one by one, trying to figure out what was filled up in which field, we had Azure A Document Intelligence practically go through all of these in one click of a finger. Okay, so to summarize, I did a demo on the Azure A Document Intelligence Studio. So again, with the Studio, you'll be able to access all the different features of Azure A Document Intelligence without having to do any coding. From there, I showed you a demo through the REST API, in which I provided you an invoice model sample, wherein you can run a post method and a get method. So post method is to run the extraction, get method is to actually get the extracted documents. And I also showed you a Python code example, wherein through custom classification, we were able to determine in one document all of the different, the 3 documents that were inside one, the 3 documents inside one input file. And then from there, we'll be able to extract each and every information from those documents now. So again, if you want to get further information on all of these things and even have a walkthrough on the code, then feel free to do so in this LinkedIn video. So yeah, any questions from the audience?